Hey guys, it's Holly. So today we're going to have a look at the second biggest set in the Spider-Man No Way Home wave, which is the good old sort of Vulture set, which is 76195 Spider-Man's Drone Duel, which this one says explicitly that it's inspired by Homecoming, yet has a No Way Home suit in it. Will that be accurate? I don't know, but I only really wanted the figures from this set, and the fact that it had Vulture Wings, like, yeah, I'm gonna buy the set and not just the figures. So this set retails for $20 US and 33 Australian, and straight off the bat, I'm not a huge fan of the drone build, but we'll sort of see how that pans out once it's all built up, so let's go have a look. So here the set is all built up, and honestly, I'm a tiny bit underwhelmed. I feel like the Vulture's wings aren't that good. They're all right. I think they're a lot better than the original ones from the Homecoming set, but they just seem really thin to me, and I feel like there's a tiny bit of detail that's just lacking overall. The minifigures I'm a really big fan of, and the spider drone, I don't know, I've never really been a huge fan of it. I think the build's pretty good, pretty solid, works well for what it is, but I don't know, I'm just not a huge fan of the design and just random Spider-Man vehicles in general. But before we have a look at both of them, let's have a look at the figures. So first up, we have the brand new black and gold Spider-Man suit, which was shown very briefly in the trailer. And just as a suit in general, I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of it, but I really like the figure. Now, this guy actually comes along with a bunch of new golden web pieces, which I think look really cool, including this little build for him to hold onto, which matches his suit really nicely. He's got some pearl gold hands, as well as arm printing, which is the only suit out of this wave to actually include it, and I think it really pays off here and adds quite a lot to this figure. He's also got some hip printing, which again is great to see, and there's just overall a lot of detail, and I really like how this figure turned out. He's the only one not to have dual molded legs, which is completely understandable. The plain black works perfectly fine, and he's actually got that sort of older eye design, but even then it's been a bit updated. It's got some of the silver in the corners. You can kind of see that the eye really has like a cat eye effect. It's lifted up quite high, and even on the head there's a bunch of gold Spider-Man web detailing, and I just think this guy is really cool. It'll be really interesting to see what this suit looks like in the movie as well. I hope that it's as good and as cool and detailed as this figure is, because then I feel like we're onto a massive win here. But if you also look at the back of the head, there's a bunch of little runes in the gaps of all of these webs, which I think is really cool, and I wonder if that plays something along to the story. I guess it'll be really interesting to find out. But lastly, with this figure, you have a bunch of silver and of course the gold metallic detailing, and overall, this is just incredibly, incredibly impressive. And lastly, we have an updated Vulture / Adrian Toomes, who has these giant wings, which we'll have a look at in a second. But the figure itself, I personally really like. He has a purple sort of studded gold stud shooter thingy and a purple gem to hold along as well. And overall, I really like this. I love the torso printing for this. I think it looks incredibly accurate. The leg color choice as well looks great. And just the actual updated helmet having a printed head, as well as those classic sort of like regular helmet pieces and this weird mouth looking thing, I think it works really well. Now, the wings to this figure actually attached to the back using one of these neck brackets, and when you take all of that off, we can have a better look at the head as well as his little back printing. Now, one thing I really like about this figure, which you can see a lot better now, is that he actually has a double-sided head, so you can see Michael Keaton's Vulture on the other side. Now, part of me wonders as well, with the inclusion of this set, maybe it's also made in order to sort of lure people in, since Michael Keaton is going to be in Venom 2 from memory, which I think is really, really cool. And just overall, I really like the new helmet design. I really like the face print. I think this is a massive step up from the original. Now, like I said too, you do get the Vulture's wings in this set, which are all right, but I feel like they're kind of weak. They look incredibly thin when you sort of turn it around sideways. You've got these giant fan pieces at the bottom, which look amazing from the front, and I feel like from this angle, the entire thing looks really good. There's a lot of sticker detailing, which adds quite a lot to the set. Admittedly, I would have loved to have seen those sort of like penguin, like foot claw pieces, like sort of sticking out of the sides of the wings. I think those in metallic silver would have worked really nicely here, just to give it a bit more of a sharp edge. But I mean, it works. It just feels like it could have been better. It just feels very thin and very flimsy from the sides. Again, I like the back detailing here, and it's really easy to sort of stick to the back of him, but it also just feels incredibly big and large and bulky in a way, and I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that. The whole thing sort of looks a tiny bit oversized. I feel like if this whole section could have been condensed in a tiny bit more, maybe it would work better, maybe using some smaller wedge pieces, but it's all right for what it is, and I still think it's a massive step up from the Homecoming sets, which personally I'm really happy about, and I'm just glad to have a Vulture figure with the Vulture Wings in the first place personally. And then lastly, we have the Spider-Man drone itself, which overall, I think the design of this thing looks really cool. It wasn't overall too exciting to put together, and I'm not a huge fan of just random Spider-Man vehicles, which unfortunately, at the moment at least, is what this thing is. I think the color scheme works really well. I love the way it's sort of built with all of these compartments. You can fold up the front here, and you can sit Spider-Man in sort of like the pilot seat. Then at the back as well, there is a bit of a play feature. You can spin the propellers around, which is really neat, but the rest of it's kind of boring. There's not really any amazing play features besides the stud shooters, and you've got this gold little rope thing hanging from the back, which I guess Spider-Man can swing on, but it doesn't tuck away or anything. It just sort of sits there, and you can take it on and off if you really wanted to, but yeah, it's just kind of boring overall. Now if I take it off the little stand, you can have a tiny bit of a better look at it. So on the front there is this stickered Nexo Shield, which actually looks a lot like spider eyes, which I thought was really cool and a really nice touch. On the front as well, there is this metallic golden crest sort of leaf piece, which I love the look of that. I think it works really well. However, it is the only metallic gold piece in this set, so it sort of stands out at the same time. Now, like I said, you can fold this entire section open, and you can actually fit Spider-Man in there. If you just fold up his legs and his arms, you can sit him right down and he can pilot the entire thing, which is pretty neat. You can sort of see him from the side, and you sort of have to fold it a bit awkwardly. You have to sort of bring it down and then fold that in order to create a bit of a less of a gap, but even then it just sort of doesn't fit right. I feel like you really want to push it in and sort of leave it as is, but you can just see through the entire side thing. So there's a lot of gaps in this set, I think, is basically what I'm trying to say. Each of the arms is built exactly the same. Each of them have a little stickered panel here, a great piece, a propeller, and one of these wing pieces in pearl gold. On the back there's some more really nice stickered detailing. You've got one at the top here on this wedge piece, and then these two bigger ones on this giant wedge piece. And personally, I really like how this continues on. I think it looks really slick, and this entire section can actually fold up, and then you can access this little mailbox here, where if you open that up, there is actually a silver spider drone on the inside, which I love the pieces for this, but it just feels like that's pretty basic, and for that to be really the only other play feature besides stud shooters, I just think like it's a tiny bit weak and a tiny bit lazy, especially again, you've got more gaps here with these wedge pieces. It'll be really interesting to see if this build actually shows up in the film, because it just feels really out of place to me, and honestly looks more like a beetle than it does a spider, especially if you sort of hold it up like that, like when, you know, when the Batwing sort of flies across the moon, like that just looks more like one of those dung beetles than an actual spider, which is sort of a shame, but I guess for what it is, it looks pretty cool, but I can't really see too much playability besides swooshing things around. Luckily, everything sort of seems really robust. I don't think things are going to fall off, which is pretty cool, but I'm not going to display this personally. I'm probably going to break it down and put it in a box, because at the end of the day, I just wanted the Vulture's wings and the minifigures themselves. And lastly, in this set, you get more of these golden web pieces, which I seem to have lost quite a few of them out of my pocket, which is a shame, but overall, these look pretty cool and can be attached to the Vulture as well to sort of make it look like he's all been webbed up, which is really neat, although I don't know how many times these sort of pieces are going to be reused in this particular color, but it's a neat inclusion nevertheless. So that is the entire set, and honestly, this I think has to be the most disappointing, which is a lot considering that there is a 4+ set. I just feel like the fact that you can get a 4+ set with 3 figures, then you have this one with 2, and just the Vulture Wings being a bit weak in my opinion. I feel like they're quite flat. I feel like there's just a few things that could have made them a bit better, but also just the fact that the spider drone doesn't really represent anything. It works, but I feel like at the same time it doesn't offer much playability besides stud shooters. So I don't know, I don't think I can necessarily recommend this one. I mean, the only reason I bought it in the end is because I wanted to have a build for the Vulture's wings. So by buying the set, I could get the figures and the build, which was much, much easier. The spider drone, I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna dismantle. For what it is, it looks cool. It's built well. I'm not a fan of the design overall, but that's just a personal choice from me. But let me know what you guys think of this set in the comments down below, and do you plan on picking it up? And if you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below. And until next time, I'll see you later.